Hope everybody's doing great. Again, excited about the way our kids competed this Saturday, and proud of our ability to find a way to win a game that was against a good opponent, and obviously we didn't play our best in some areas, but found a way to come out on the right side of it. So extremely excited about that. Moving on, kids were in the building this morning and had a good morning with them. Excited about getting back in our home stadium. Celebrating, I guess, maybe the 50th anniversary of the first night game at Neyland this week too. So I'm excited and looking forward to the week. I'll open it up.
Questions, Adam, then Ben.
You said you didn't play your best. How do you communicate that, especially on offense, to the guys that you did win a game, you did do some things in clutch situations that didn't play your best?
Well, and this game's never going to be perfect either. And I said that after the game, said it to the players, and I do all the time. There's things that we can control that we can be better, and offensively the way we started, really in all three phases of the football game, the way we started. The third quarter, just offensively and special teams, being more dialed in, and that's coaches and players together. And I am proud of the way that we finished and competed. The second quarter, has been something that we've placed an emphasis on just in our offseason and training camp. It was good to see us, respond and play the second quarter the way that we're capable of and come out on the right side of the scoreboard during that quarter. So there's a lot of positives, but there's things that, and it's always going to be true throughout the course of the season, that, man, we got to continue to find a way to get better. And the simple things that we control in all three phases of the game, how do we continue to get better to control those in a better way?
You said that you felt good after the opener, despite not having a sack on the stat sheet. But then this past weekend, the numbers speak for themselves. Were they doing the same things and just having more results, or was there something that you saw in terms of the difference in them?
A lot of the same things that we didn't have the same type of results. I do think they impacted the game in week 1 too, but the havoc numbers from the defensive line and our pressures, from the second and third levels showed up. There's some things in coverage that we can tighten down and be better and more disciplined in that are going to force the quarterback to potentially hold on to the ball a little bit longer. In particular, in the first quarter, I thought that showed up. But the relentlessness, the energy, the strain from our defensive guys that were, applying pressure to the quarterback was really strong all 4 quarters. I think that trumped out and won late in the football game too. Was pleased with a lot of what we did up front.
Josh, 2 things I'll ask him separate. First, going back and looking at the tape, what was your breakdown on that pump block? Is it the pump release? Was it protection? What did you see there?
Combination of coaches and players together, being on the same page and being better in that situation.
And then it looked like you had 3 guys really take a majority of the snaps and a wide receiver in the game. Was that something that it just played out that way, or did you plan it because maybe some other guys have some work to do there?
No, just the way the game played out.
Dan, and then we'll go to the back for a question.
Coach, after the game on Saturday, you said that you didn't think when you first got here the group would have been ready to win a game like Saturday's. What's been the biggest differences between then and now, and in your opinion, what have been the most important changes?
We weren't ready. We weren't ready in the beginning of last year either. I thought we grew throughout the course of the season. We're different now than we were at the end of last year too. It's the accountability that we have inside of our program, doing the right things, and that's in every area of your life. It shows up in how you play. The mental toughness, physical toughness, and the ability to strain when things aren't going your way. Being relentless and playing together in all phases of the game. It's just the growth of individuals and the growth of our units together. All that adds up to us having the ability to fight and win a game in overtime like we played.
Coach, what has made Brew McCoy so effective so quickly?
He cares. I think that's the number one thing. He's in the building from the moment that he stepped, here inside of Knoxville. He's been in our building. He's constantly working to get better and understanding, who he is a player, what we do offensively, how to play efficiently with our communication system, how to get lined up and attack defenses. All of that I think is a big part of it. And you know, so the competitiveness, the competitive drive that he has is a big part of why he spends that extra time in here. And when you see him on the football field and the way that he competes, he's highly competitive, he's strong, and obviously you can see Hendon trusts him too, and we trust him as a staff.
Coach, back here, the running backs haven't caught a lot of passes this year. Is that something that's by design? And, you know, if not, you know, how do you get those guys involved in the passing game a little more?
Yeah, you guys see us, you know, who we are offensively. We have an identity, right? But then as we face different defenses and how we want to attack them, you know, different players get involved in the pass game. And you know, those guys do a good job in protection. They do a good job running the football. We've got to be better in ball security. Those guys catching the football out of the backfield is something that they're capable of doing. And as we go out throughout the course of the season, you'll see that show up.
Stay in the back, Peyton.
So last week, tons of upsets in college football. How do you keep this team locked in and not looking beyond Akron this week?
Yeah, the challenge every week is really us, and we talk about that every week. Talked about it this morning too. Our players got to buy into it. I didn't think, you know, a couple of the practices last week were our best. You know, it showed up in the way that we played at times during the course of the football game. Our preparation's got to be consistent. Your process of how you approach and get to game day is what takes you to game day to play your best football. And if you ever deviate from that plan and change it, you're setting yourself up for failure. We talked about that in the team meeting today. And college football has always been this way, but certainly this past weekend and the first weekend you see it, right? Like everybody's got 85 and they got good coaching staff, so you better prepare and be ready to compete in a really good way. Your competitiveness cannot deviate from week to week.
Patrick, then Rob.
Coach, a couple things. With Mincy at left tackle, looks like he went the whole way. Was it a plan to rotate, or is that sort of his job moving forward?
Just the way the game unfolded, you know, this week, and believe in JJ, and he'll have opportunities and will be a big part of what we do offensively.
You talked a little bit about Beasley after the game. Just is anything he looks like a much improved player? Is anything that he's done surprised you guys?
You know, having a full off season with us physically just changed his body. He's got a much better understanding. His eyes are in the right spot, so his keys at that position are taking him to the right gap to make the plays. He trusts what he's seeing, and so when a puller happens, whatever it might be, his keys, and you're seeing him play extremely fast once he identifies it, and you put all those things together. That's why he's showing up the way that he did. You know, the interception off the tip by Trey in the back. You know, he's screaming downhill and applying pressure to the quarterback. He showed up a bunch during the course of the ball game.
Coach, you and Coach Goles both have talked about Jalen Hyatt, his communication, work ethic, et cetera, all during fall camp. He goes out Saturday and has 11 catches, more than half again all last year. What kind of an advertisement is that within your program for kids doing the right thing and showing up on the field? Huge symbol of the things that we talk about paying off. And you guys heard me talk about Theo Jackson a lot last year and how mature he was and how he competed, and it resulted in the way that he played. Jalen, you know, in the back third of last year and certainly this entire offseason, just a different individual in the way that he approaches every day in his process to getting himself to be ready to play during the course of a game week and all offseason. Like those examples go a lot further than me just talking about something inside of the team meeting room, and everybody inside of our program, talking about our players, can see the difference in that guy. And you guys, when you see him walking down the hallway, can see a difference in him too.
Brent and Wes.
Coach, you talked last week going into the game about the need to stay on track in terms of not falling behind the sticks on third down.
Yeah.
When you watched the tape, what was happening on early downs to get you guys behind the sticks? Was it something they did, your execution? When you watched the tape, what did you see?
Early in the football game was simple execution, a lot of that being pitch and catch. You know, a couple of penalties that got us behind the chains. And, you know, one thing in some of those drives, one thing led to another that put us in third and long situations. And the dominoes can't fall that way when you're playing a really good opponent. And to have the success that you need to and want to have. So there's some things that we can control. Pitt's a really good defense too. You know, normal downs they are, and certainly on third down too.
Josh, with as much experience as Hendon has, I guess, playing the game the past several years at the college level, when he has a start the way that he did in that Pitt game, maybe just, you know, a little bit off on some throws he normally makes, is there anything you have to really say to a guy like that, or do you just sort of trust him to get it corrected?
No, Coach Halsey talked to him a little bit about his feet and his mechanics, just a little bit, really just his feet, getting himself in a better position rhythmically. I think it's great that we came out on top in this football game and we experienced some of those things during the course of the game that can help us as we go through this season. That's individually for Hendon. It's for, you know, any of our wideouts. It's for us as an offensive unit, our entire football team, you know, continuing to compete and find a way to make a play at the end. And there were a bunch of plays that Hendon made once he got into a better rhythm, into the flow of the football game.
Eric and Vince.
Josh, what's Akron look like on tape? What do they present offensively and defensively? And obviously, outside of a win, what are you trying to accomplish goal-wise this week?
Yeah, quarterback, when healthy, guy has the ability to be involved in the run game. You know, some of that's by design, some of that's just on drop back, him scrambling. We got to do a good job of applying pressure, but containing him. We got to do a better job out on the outside, being more consistent and winning one-on-ones. And I'm talking about defensively. You know, offensively, multiple front and coverages, and only being 2 weeks into their scheme, both offensively and defensively from them, you know there's going to be something different that shows up on tape, and as they continue to grow inside of what they're doing, as their personnel gets more comfortable in their system. So we got to be able to adjust to what we see on Saturday too.
Josh, you guys were able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback this past week, this past Saturday. How did that break down to your pleasing in terms of getting pressure from the front versus sending blitzes? Yeah,
I thought with just our front four, there were times that we did a great job. You know, Tyler Barron's strip sack at the end of the half. Obviously, Trey with pressure at the end of the football game. It was a combination of both of those things. And as the game went on, I thought the coverage on the back end forced them to hold it for another count. Early in the football game, you know, we're a step short of being able to hit the quarterback. I thought the combination of what we were doing was really good. I thought Coach Banks and our defensive staff did a great job in game planning, in preparation, had our guys ready to go compete.
Two more questions. Adam, then Al.
Looked like they were taking away a lot of the run game. Hendon was throwing in a lot of RPOs. How flexible do you need to be in play calling? Can you stick with the run too long, or what's your philosophy about if they want you to throw it, you just throw it?
At the end of the day, we want to have balance in what we're doing, right? But also structurally, what they're doing, you got to put your kids in a position to be able to attack them and stay ahead of the chains. And so it's always going to be a combination of that balance that you're talking about.
Coach, I got to get off the beaten path a little bit.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this one, yeah.
What do you see as the advantages and disadvantages of intra-conference transfers?
I don't know that I see it a whole lot different than just regular transfers. You know, one other negative of it is somebody leaving your program. They have, you know, what you do structurally. You know, that can go out the door with them and go to their new place. Other than that, I think, you know, the transfer is just, it's a part of college football at this point, and everybody's operating within it. It's a portion of what we do to maintain what we need inside of our roster, and at the same time, it'll never be the only thing that we're using to build our roster.
Thank you. We'll have players in your shorts.